My name's Andrew Nguyen.
I'm Jacob Ford.
My name's Nicole Gaspar.
And I'm Madison Carlson.
Our question is, how do the political parties' views on immigration influence the bias in news networks?
Political parties on both sides of the spectrum display their views prominently on their website. The Republican Party believes that our border must be absolutely secured and illegal immigration must be stopped, while the Democratic Party believes that they should work towards a comprehensive immigration reform that fixes our nation's broken immigration system, improves border security, prioritizes enforcement, so we are targeting criminals. Although the parties have similar views, the media portrays them as opposing each other. According to the Harvard University Shorenstein's Media Policy and Politics and Public Policy, 96% of news coverage on President Trump's immigration policies were negative. This provides evidence on a huge contrast between the media and actual political views. These images came directly off from the Federation for American Reform, where its objective is to examine immigration trends and educate America on the topic. The top image displays the total governmental expenditures at the federal, state, and local level. The bottom displays the total tax contributions by illegal aliens. If calculated, this will add up to a $116 billion deficit. And if compensated and calculated to the 12.5 million illegal immigrants living in the United States currently, it will come down to $2,746 each. This focuses on the economic aspect on political views, as Republicans believe in a monetary value of immigrants such as jobs, while Democrats believe in more an ethical and moral standpoint.
In recent years, there's been an increase in more left-leaning or right-leaning media outlets. It's becoming harder to tell which media outlets are actually telling the truth and providing factual events.
Fox News has been commonly recognized for its conservative point of view and shown through these headliners: Trump, grabber migrants use children as human shields at border. Criminals target women, children as migrant caravan makes its way to Mexico. It is shown through this that the Republican Party has a negative viewpoint on immigration. This image depicts a widespread network of Republicans using it to depict the migrant caravan as violent and hostile people. However, on the other hand, CNN, a more left-leaning network, is vocal about having an open border policy, as we have nothing to fear from the migrant march. Don't be fooled by Trump's caravan misinformation campaign, and Trump's making the migrant caravan a political issue. Here are the facts. It is shown that they have a more open arms point stance towards immigration, and in the image shown in the next slide, it's clearly depicted as being women, children, and men seeking asylum in America, but are wrongly prosecuted by the United States government because of the misinformation in news networks. This graph also shows how it has been an issue for generations, as generation from the baby boomer and Generation X have been more leaning right, while the millennials, us, have been leaning left. It is shown that through the recent years, the views on immigration has become more positive, as more millennials are left-leaning than they are right-leaning. In the next graph, it shows how their personal viewpoints have changed through the years too, as it is shown that the baby boomers and Generation X are the ones who view immigration with less respect, as millennials, us, view them with more respect and hardworking citizens. Media was created with the intent to bridge division and heal wounds left from the past, but instead it is used to magnify division and underline social solidarities. Dana Boyd, from They Say I Say, her main point is to discuss the topic of media outlets using false information to provide false political campaign slogans, which would then cause division within America, given that America is either half Democratic or half Republican.
The United States has a vast history of division and disconnection surrounding our ideas of immigration. At the beginning of our country's independence, there were no clear laws stating which people could come in or come out of the country because of our open border policy that we had adopted. This changes and more immigrants arrived into the country, hoping for more opportunities with the gold rush and railroad building. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed, restricting the entrance of Chinese labor for 10 years. It also prevented the naturalization of the Chinese. California's Democratic governor was known for publicly blaming the Chinese immigrants for their position in the workforce. This was the beginning of the term illegal immigration and promoted the xenophobia that resulted for years to come. Later, in 1955, during the Vietnam War, the influence of the availability of television and the viewers heavily impacted the choices made by the government. Having the American people see the actual impacts of war demanded for change. The same can go for news stories. The way that the Buddhist monk burned himself to death influenced the perception of the war and its effects. Immigration from Middle Eastern countries has been heavily criticized since the attacks of 9/11, so much so that many anti-Islam ideals still prevail today. The media's use of certain words have an obvious impact on how people perceive the effects of how people perceive the events that are reported. And BBC News, the British Broadcasting Corporation, states that the word terrorist itself can be a barrier rather than aid to understanding. We should convey to our audience the full consequences of the act by describing what happened. We should use words which specifically describe the perpetrator and not adopt other people's language as our own. BBC News is stating that we should use words that clearly describe the facts of the situation and not try to imply certain things that may provide a different connotation for the viewers and allow them to come up with their own opinions.
Images depicting the current migrant caravan seeking asylum have caused a bloom in the topic of immigration amongst Americans. And then incidents of tear gassing have posed questions on just how ethical our methods of defending our border are. As recently stated in our introduction, it's easy to compare the immigration policies of the EU to America's policies, which coincidentally lack a solid plan on maintaining the human rights of immigrants who come to America. Images such as these aid in the immigration feud between the left and right, as the left wishes to portray immigrants in a positive light, while their counterparts wish to do the opposite. There is a large amount of controversy revolving around the methods of defending our borders, especially in the minds of the Democratic Party. Left-leaning media sources often criticize the violent nature of the Trump administration. According to the U.S. CBP, the incidents of force were down 22.9% compared to Obama administration, who used tear gas once a month. Incidents of assault against CBP personnel have increased exponentially due to actions of the Trump administration, yet these commonly go unreported by Democratic parties. Many cities in the United States have seen an increase in hate crimes. Bias from political parties in the media, especially in the Republican Party, can attribute to an increase in hate crimes. The Trump administration commonly depicts the immigrant population of America as violent and unworthy of an American citizenship, creating a spike in xenophobia. Although freedom of expression and the press is a human right, it shouldn't entail hate speech.
Large immigration to America often leads to the Republican Party and Democratic Party butting heads. Mass immigration such as the recent caravan can spark fear in American society due to false representation in the media as seen through the Democratic and Republican Party. However, to combat this, we could find more funding for organizations that are non-government affiliated, such as Red Cross Mexico and UNICEF Mexico, which then would provide educational, economic, and health stability in the nation. And this would be beneficial to Mexico because it would create a more stable society in which they wouldn't have to migrate to another nation if their society was unstable.
However, there are some cons to this. The corruption of government, or the reliability of government specifically, due to the change of government every 4 years currently in the United States or change of government in other countries. They may not hold the same political beliefs and may contradict or may disrupt this kind of funding.
A solution to combat hate crimes and hate speech would be to regulate social media. It may seem as though this would limit the freedom of press, however, this would only entail to hate speech that incites violence. In regulating social media, we can combat crime and educate people on multiculturalism, which can improve journalists' abilities to report without a bias. On the other hand, this could create further backlash from individuals who agree with certain groups or political parties, which could further incite issues of violence or hate.
Another example could be seen through this video.
And you have to look at the fact that this report is based on the most extreme modeled scenario which contradicts long-established trends. Modeling the climate is an extremely complicated science that is never exact. The biggest thing that we can do is focus on how to make sure we have the cleanest air, the cleanest water, and the president is certainly doing that and certainly leading on that.
As seen in the video, CNN uses a fact-checking system on the side that allows viewers to interpret their own decisions based on the facts given instead of just listening to the person talking.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.